What's up, Eagles Nation? What's going on in the NFL world? How you doing, Division Rivals? This is Steven Hyder, Gate City Sports Channel. Sports Channel where the cerebral NFL fan comes for about 10 minutes of daily content. All right, y'all, today's topic, I want to talk about the offensive frequency groupings from Week 1's game for the Philadelphia Eagles, guys. A couple of notes I want to say real quick is that I'm using Sharp's football stats to get this information just in case you guys are curious. But be a little distrustful of some of the information because Sharp football stats, for some weird reason, has the Eagles running 112 offensive plays. I can tell you that that's not accurate, guys. They didn't run 112 offensive plays. I'm pretty sure we would be seeing a heck of a lot more coverage about the Eagles and what happened than what we've already seen so far. So that seems to be a little off to me, guys. I'm trusting that they got the actual percentages when it comes to 11, 12, so forth and so forth correctly, but clearly I can't really use their data on when it comes to run and pass plays in terms of the total number because it's not correct. I mean, we simply put, we didn't run 112 offensive plays. The other thing I want to talk to you guys about real quick before we jump into it is when I talk about success rate, let me just quickly define what they mean by success rate. Guys, this isn't coming from me. I'm using a database to give you the information, guys, all right? Success rate means that on first down, you gain 40% of the yards to go on that play. 60% for second down, and then 100% for third and fourth down. So that would be equate what they call a successful play. It's subjective, guys. We understand that. We all know that, but grain of salt, guys. Sometimes you just got to take things in stride and just keep going. I mean, I don't know what else I can do about the situation. We're just going to have to use their data for right now. So what I did find interesting is that they tracked the Eagles to use 4 separate formations: 11-man, 12-man, 13-man, and 21-man. As I suspected, we didn't run as much two-back sets as I was hoping to see. We definitely targeted the running backs. The running backs were clearly a large part of what we did offensively, but we didn't use a lot of two-back formations, the pony-back formation stuff we kept hearing about, something I've been wanting. You guys know I've been calling for it for a couple of years now, but that seems to be more of the depending on matchup type stuff. So maybe the matchup just wasn't right. Maybe they didn't like the Dean Pease matchup with two-back sets. We'll see. I mean, as the weeks go on, we'll see if it becomes more of a prominent role within the offense. But on Sunday's game, they only tracked one play coming out of a two-back set, which was out of 21-man, which means 2 running backs, 1 tight end, 2 wide receivers. It was in a passing attempt, and it basically went for a loss. It was behind the line of scrimmage by 6 yards, and then essentially, I still think it netted in like a 3-yard loss or something. So
get the play off. Hurts gets it out in the flat. It's Gainwell's first touch.
So it wasn't a very successful play, but sometimes, you're setting things up, to say the least. What I did find interesting is the ratio of things. We still were not anywhere near that 70% or above marker for 11-man personnel. You guys know I told you predominantly teams that we would call like heavy 11-man, they generally speak to be right around 70%. If they're like 69%, I normally will count them, guys, but that's pretty much the threshold for heavy. Most teams are fairly 11-man dominant, even if we're diverse in how many different formations we run, with the exceptions of a few teams, obviously. But there are a very select group of teams that are heavy 11-man. So for this game, they tracked the Eagles with 59% offensive utilization out of 11-man personnel, guys. It was a 61% success rate according to them, 59% pass to 41% run. So we ran the ball pretty heavily out of 11-man, to be quite honest, according to Sharp's football stats. They had a 54% success rate from passing the ball, so basically meaning, getting that early downs. It was first down, getting at least 40%, 60% on second downs, or 100% on third and fourth down, 54% of the time. But then they had a 70% success rate from running the ball out of 11-man. So 40% on first down, 60% on second down, 100% on third and fourth down, guys. We ran the ball very well out of 11-man. I'm going to guess that there was maybe some early down stuff kind of happening towards the second half of the game out of 11-man running the ball. And that's probably why we have such a high success rate there, because all you need is basically 4 yards to hit that success rate. So 12-man. 12-man, we ran a lot of 12-man. I think we were pretty much right on the dot. I think a lot of us said it's going to be between like 25 and 30%. 29%. They came out and ran 29% according to Sharp's football stats out of 12-man personnel with a 52% success rate. What I did find interesting is the way Sharp's football stats track the information. They said it was 33% out of the passing formation 67% from a run. So, interesting, right? I mean, the inverse here of success rate, 73% of all plays out of passing formations from 12-man personnel were considered to be successful, while 41% of running plays out of 12-man personnel were considered to be successful. I think what didn't shock me, because I kind of knew this going in, that Indianapolis played a lot of 13-man personnel last year, so I kind of expected us to potentially see a lot of 13-man, but I'll admit I didn't think it'd be over 10%. Out of 13-man personnel on Sunday, we ran 11% of our plays. That was pretty high. I mean, I didn't see that coming. We had a 50% success rate out of 13-man personnel. Same exact kind of figures as 12-man guys, where they ran 33% of their plays were from a passing situation, 67% were from a running situation, 50% success rate on the pass, 50% success rate on the run, coming out of 13-man personnel. And then we already talked about 21-man personnel. So how did this stack up against the league? 13-man personnel, guys, we tied for... Or no, we didn't tie. We were fourth in the utilization of 13-man personnel. Houston was number one at 23%, almost a quarter of their offensive sets, guys, out of 13-man personnel. It's interesting. Definitely, they're clearly trying to probably set the run. Cleveland, 16%. That one doesn't shock me. Cleveland's for... Stefanski's always been kind of that way. Denver was third at 14%. Philly was fourth at 11%. Atlanta was fifth at 10%. Miami was sixth at 8%. Arizona was seventh with 7%. Carolina and Kansas City tied for eighth with 5%. Indianapolis and Seattle tied for 10th with 4%. So that's kind of how the league stacked out, guys. And then 12-man personnel. Atlanta ran 51%. They were predominant 12-man personnel. 51% of their snaps came basically out of 12-man personnel. New England was number two at 49%, almost predominantly, 12-man. The Jets were third with 40%. Seattle and Denver tied for fourth with 38% 12-man utilization. Arizona tied with Miami for sixth with 37% utilization. Dallas was eighth. This is a bit of a shocker. Dallas was eighth, 35% out of 12-man personnel. I definitely think Dallas was doing some things to probably try to make sure Dak didn't feel any pressure, didn't get hit. It's what it seems like to me. And I'm gonna get to a larger point about this whole Dallas thing in a second, because I'm a little shocked by some of the underlying analytics here about that Dallas game. Tampa Bay was ninth at 30% utilization out of 12-man, and then Philly and Houston were tied for 10th at 29% 12-man utilization. So top 10 in both 12-man and 13-man utilization. Probably not a big shocker to us, guys. 11-man personnel, the Eagles, like I said, they were accounted for as 59%. Obviously, that's not going to be in the tops of the league, although we were still dominant. Predominantly, we ran an 11-man set. But number one in the league was Indianapolis with 87% of their snaps out of 11-man personnel. That is a freakishly high number, guys. Carson Wentz, Frank Reich, that offense, it took an L, and it ran 87% of its offense out of 11-man. That means only 13% of its offense came from other utilizations of formations. Tennessee was 81%. Adding Julio Jones in the offseason, they got a good receiving core there. I kind of get it. Green Bay, 79%. Green Bay, that's a little shocking, because Green Bay last year was a little bit more versatile. I wouldn't be shocked if they don't change their stuff up by the matchup in the game. I think that every team does it, but I think you can see drastic swings from Green Bay personally. Pittsburgh, 78%, 11-man. Chicago, 77%. Jacksonville, 75%. Los Angeles Rams, 73%. And Detroit, 71%. Those were the teams that were above 70% utilization of 11-man personnel. And then we followed up with two NFC East teams. The New York Giants at 69%. I would add them into that group because 1%, splitting hairs. And Washington, sticking true to their percentage last year, pretty much, was 67% 11-man utilization. That kind of round out the dominant 11-man personnel teams. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 teams, guys. The surprise of all this was Dallas only running 49% of its snaps, according to Sharp's football stats, out of 11-man personnel. With CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, the entire receiving staff they have there. Michael Gallup. I think Gallup did suffer an injury, if I'm not mistaken, during the game, so maybe that's what knocked him out of that utilization. But I also think probably trying to keep Dak Prescott upright and using some tight end sets to do that probably played a role as well. I mean, we'll see. We'll see if that continues with Dallas, because now Collins, I think, is going to be down for like 4 to 6 games or something like that, guys. I think I heard, because of substance abuse, PED type stuff going on. I don't know if it was a PED, but it's that type of situation, I believe. And then, I do think they lost Michael Gallup for a series of weeks too. So be interesting to see if that kind of continues forward. In terms of the Eagles, guys, kind of what I expected. I expected us to, be pretty heavy. I mean, I'll admit this is really heavy because we were nearly 60-40 from 11-man to multiple tight end formations. 29% 12-man, 11%, 13-man, it's 40% there. And then you got 59% 11-man with a 1% from a 2-back set look. So, I mean, it was nearly a 60-40 split between 11-man personnel going into 12-man personnel. To me, this looks like, a situation where Nick Sirianni is trying to get the best players on the field. But I'll be honest with you guys. To me, these percentages, they matter to know what's going on. But they don't matter as long as the coaches, in terms of criticism. It doesn't matter as long as the coach is executing. As long as the quarterback's executing, the line's executing, and we're getting results. Hard to complain when your team puts up over 30 points for the first time in over a year. So, with those kind of results, I'll take 59% out of 11-man, 29% out of 12-man, 11% out of 13-man, and 1% out of a 2-back set 21-man personnel. I'll take it all day long, guys. I think it was a pretty good outing, a pretty good showing, to be quite honest. All right, y'all, leave your comments down below. Like I said, guys, be a little skeptical of this because I know for a fact we didn't run 112 offensive plays. So I can't really use their run-to-pass ratio stuff because it messes with me a little bit in terms of what I trust there. I will say I tracked it as being about 53 to 47%, in favor of the pass, 53% towards the pass, 47% towards the run. But to be true about that, guys, there were a few plays that were clearly a scramble drill. There's like 1 or 2 of those plays where it was a scramble drill, so that can skew it to 55-45-ish. But nonetheless, a very balanced approach. We gained the lead. After we gained the lead, we ran to protect it. We did a pretty good job doing that. I will say some of the early down stuff, I know a lot of you guys were like, hey, Gabe, why in the world did they wait so long to run the ball? Some of that early down stuff, guys, was RPO. And if the linebackers had backed into a zone, Jalen would have handed it off. But because the linebackers came downhill, it's an RPO. He sees the linebackers move downhill. He set up those tunnel screens. That's basically all the Quez Watkins ones, I think. I mean, guys, I'm still waiting to get to all 22 to really see everything. But from what I could see from just a TV, copy of the game, and that's really hard to make certain judgments on, guys. You should never really trust a TV copy completely. But there are certain things you can see quite easily. That's what I saw from most of those Quez Watkins plays, to be honest. And then the Jalen Reagor one looked like the same thing to me. You read the linebackers. You see Kelsey shifts the center, throws the nose to the ground, goes out there and starts setting up that wall of China. And Mulata ends up putting a guy nearly into next week with leveling the guy on the outside. And then we see Reagor take off for the touchdown. That's those are RPOs, guys. That's if the defense gives you one thing, those might be running plays. Where obviously, because of the way the defense played things, you turn it into a quick pass play. I can tell you that that's something you'll see a lot out of Brady in Carolina. He loves to run RPOs. And Sean Payton. Sean Payton is one of the best at setting up RPOs. He's one of the best in the league. He's one of the best in football, period, at creating RPOs. And, of course, Frank Reich deserves his notoriety for the way he utilized RPOs in our Super Bowl when bringing that in element to the offense with Doug Peterson and, Nick Foles and what happened during that stretch in that run. All right, y'all. I appreciate y'all's time and attention, guys, and I'll catch y'all in the next video.